Arsenal have beaten Porto in the Champions League. What a huge result that is for Arsenal. It's obviously a bit of a stereotypical thing to say, but if you lose that game, it's so big in the season for Arsenal. It really is. You could really criticise them heavily for this kind of Porto side. It's got a 41-year-old Pepe in it, pulling strings from the back. If Arsenal didn't make it through that penalty shootout, there would be some massive criticisms about Arsenal's mentality, especially in Europe, because their record in knockout football in the last 15 to 20 years has been absolutely atrocious. But they've made it through. They've made it through. These are the facts. It was a good penalty win. We'll talk about all the penalties and all the one goal today. Absolutely huge. Let's just start off in the first half. Obviously, there's a Trossard goal in there. It was a great pass from Odegaard into Trossard, who had a sweeping finish. And from that point on, Arsenal never really kicked on. It never looked like Arsenal were going to get the second or the third. We have to talk about Porto's brilliance against Arsenal. It was a low block for sure that kind of kept Arsenal at bay. But this is a criticism I've got of Arsenal throughout the season. They are a robotic machine, and when that machine clicks into gear, they can score 2, 3, 4 very quickly because it's all very rhythmical. It's all very similar in terms of patterns of play. And this Porto side were absolutely superb at breaking up the passages of play and stopping Arsenal, limiting Arsenal. And I think Porto will be really frustrated they even conceded in this game because Arsenal didn't have any big chances, really. The goal came about, in my opinion, from Pepe's mistake. I think he dropped too deep too early, in my opinion, and was worried about being turned inside out and being an older centre-back and being a little bit more vulnerable, in my opinion. And the high line would have just caused Trossard to be offside because he was roaming offside anyway. And then just having that one defender that was 5 yards behind just allowed Trossard the space to be onside and tuck it away nicely. He was exceptional today, I thought, Trossard. Really, really good energy. This Arsenal side have had to display massive levels of energy, of fitness, of composure as well. It's going to help that they're not in the FA Cup. I think that's massive for them. And all these little games now, the FA Cup games, the Champions League games, the Europa League games for Liverpool, they're all going to have a massive knock-on effect onto the Premier League title race. Who's fitter, who's sharper, any injuries. Look at the injuries to Alisson, look at the injuries to Ederson for Man City. And as far as I can tell, this Arsenal side look like they're still fit and firing with some good squad rotation in the added time, the extra time. That, you know, we saw Zinchenko come on, Eddie Nketiah as well. So this Arsenal side got a lot of players that are fully fit, ready to go, and they all want to be part of this setup as well. So that'd be exciting if I was an Arsenal fan. That not only did they get through the game, but this Arsenal side looked fit. They matched Porto. They looked up for the job, which is huge. This is the first time Arsenal have experienced this kind of Champions League tough opposition, seasoned opposition. You're not always going to play a Porto, but Porto have been in this competition so much. They've probably been in it more consistently in the last 10 years than Arsenal themselves. They're not going to have the money in the squad. They're not going to have the quality that Arsenal have got, but they showed so much fight, so much resilience. I think they'll be gutted they even conceded at the Emirates because I didn't think Arsenal created any chances really to deserve any more than they got today, which was a 1-0. Kept it obviously 1-0 on aggregate, and it went to penalties. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We're going to break down just more of this game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Second half was where it got really stuck for Arsenal. I don't know if this is down to a delay in all the fatigue and all the adrenaline from all their games, their incredible away form in particular, how good they've been. Is this a bit of a setback in the second half? They did look a little bit leggy. Bukayo Saka in particular, for me, lacked creativity, lacked ingenuity. And this is the brilliance of Bukayo Saka, is that when he is at that level and he is a little bit flat or he isn't up to the standard that he usually sets, he still puts in a good shift. He still works really, really hard. Some footballers at that level just don't look like they're interested. Maybe someone like Marcus Rashford as an example. Saka, you can tell when he's not having a good game because there's a lack of creativity there. He overhit a few balls in the final 20 minutes in the game as well, but he still puts in big performances where didn't really make a mistake. I still think you can look at Saka and you'd want more from him, more creativity. He needs to be learning from the kind of Riyad Mahrez of the world as opposed to Salah, in my opinion. Saka already has that athleticism. He already has that kind of energy going up and down the flank today for basically 120 minutes. I think he played the whole game. But he still needs to add creativity for me in open play moments, be a bit more deft, be a bit more cute with certain balls in. And Arsenal, I think, struggled. I think that front three today, apart from, Trossard was good and Saka was good. Havertz, in these kind of games against physical centre-backs, they found it so easy against Havertz. There was a lack of mobility. There was a real lack of running in behind the two fullbacks for Porto, who covered everything up. Wendell in particular, left back for Porto today, smothered so much. And Porto were winning the little ugly duels. If you get Inter Milan in the next round, Arsenal fans, if you get Atletico Madrid, get some of these sides, it's going to be like Porto, even worse, because they're going to be Diego Simeone sides are going to be even more aggressive, but they're going to have quality like Griezmann, for example, to punish you. Porto didn't have that quality today to punish Arsenal, no question about it. Have to talk about that miss for Odegaard. The ball kind of bounced to Odegaard 95th minute, I think it was 90th minute. And he had the whole goal to aim for, and he doesn't quite get it right, and he makes a mistake, and he misses the net entirely. Odegaard's another one where the creativity, if it doesn't flow, it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing at Arsenal, and it doesn't matter because you win the game. But it becomes very linear, very robotic a little bit. And against Porto, you're going to need a lot more than running it down to penalties to get far in the Champions League. There'll be Arsenal fans out there that justifiably say that obviously winning the Champions League is way ahead of schedule for Arsenal at the moment. That's not what a clear objective of the side is this season. That's absolutely fair. But you can only play what's inside of you, in front of you, even. And this Porto side were resilient. They were tough. And Arsenal ultimately made it through. They made it through. The penalties, we'll talk about them because Odegaard smashing a good one. Saka's penalty in particular was huge. Declan Rice. So you can see in the penalties that there's an aspect of confidence, there's a fearlessness. I actually thought Arsenal would really struggle at the Emirates to do penalties. Not based on quality, not based on anything, too biased or anything like that. But I did think that Arsenal might struggle with the atmosphere at the Emirates, a lack of belief of being able to get through this, the nervousness in the stadium. And they showed quality penalties, hit them hard, and gave the keeper absolutely no chance. Let's be completely real. So, huge result for Arsenal. If they play in those, especially in the way they played in Portugal, they're really poor, really flat. They're so focused on the league, I think you can really start to tell now. They're not in the FA Cup. They obviously got no League Cup football to play. Is there a discussion that if they're not in the Champions League, they can double down on the Premier League? I never think that, because I think you've got to be winning games against high-level opposition to keep that standard afloat. You can take a rest in the summer, in my opinion. But ultimately, this Arsenal side, really, really good mentality today. Really, really strong. One of the most important wins, arguably, in Arteta's time as Arsenal manager against experienced Champions League opposition. Obviously, they get a break now, so that kind of compensates for the fatigue that surely has set in after this performance for Arsenal. Let's just run through some of the players, and obviously let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking as well. And I'll read out some comments in a bit. David Raya today, absolutely huge, wasn't he? Made a big penalty save, and that kind of calmness, that kind of tranquility that the back line for Arsenal had at points today. Yes, Porto caused a few troubles. There are a few balls getting whipped in, but ultimately David Raya, as soon as he comes back after that Brentford win, absolutely superb. And I think he's a really, really good keeper. Ben White was, the whole back line today, Ben White, Saliba. Saliba made a little bit of a mistake with the clearance, and Porto could have scored in the first half, I think it was. But Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel Kiwior is looking like a really good back line. I think this is a back line that Arteta will trust. I think he'll bring in Zinchenko in big, crucial moments when he needs more control from his defensive line to step into midfield. Ben White can do that, but Zinchenko was brought in specifically to do that. I think Zinchenko will have a role to play. But Kiwior has been fantastic, hasn't he? He has been fantastic in recent weeks. He really, really has. The midfield today might be the issue. I think Jorginho playing Tuesday, Saturday will get to him a little bit. Partey's got a big role to play. He really does. He has a huge role to play. in this Arsenal campaign, whether it's just the Premier League or whether it's trying to win the Champions League out of nowhere and be a dark horse for the competition. Someone like Thomas Partey has to have his legs in that midfield, and the Arsenal midfield looked a little bit flat today from Odegaard's creativity, Jorginho's legs a little bit, but Declan Rice all around was the one kind of keeping them going, in my opinion. And Declan Rice was absolutely superb today. And these kind of performances, you just think he's absolutely set, he's absolutely ready to play Champions League football, and he's doing it week in, week out. No level drops. I don't see him ever putting a 5 out of 10. It's always 7s and 8s out of 10s. Scored his penalty, showed leadership. Even in the final 5-10 minutes, running down challenges, being in his own box, flicking the ball around. He is an exceptional footballer to the highest degree. He really is. And I think Arsenal, let's just say you substitute Declan Rice for someone of equal quality, but without the mentality of Declan Rice, then they might not get through the game today. I think Declan Rice's mentality, you can see it on the pitch. They believe they can get through these kind of difficult games. But the front three would be where I'm a little bit more critical for sure, because I think Saka's creativity not enough today. It's not just enough about whipping things in on the byline. His right foot, some of the balls he played back on his right foot were poor today. They were soft. They were easy to defend from Porto. And Arsenal are going to get harder challenges. They really, really are. But this is where, Jesus is going to be an important role. He's got far more mobility and aggression. He'll be frustrated he's not starting these games ahead of Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz has now got the nod. He's been trusted to play these games, but he got bullied by the Porto centre-backs today, in my opinion. And Trossard is just always a shining light in this Arsenal side, isn't he? He always puts in good performances, solid player. Big goal for Arsenal today. If he doesn't score that goal, then Arsenal are currently out. Do you know what I mean? So Trossard scores a big goal to keep Arsenal in the Champions League and take it to penalties. Absolutely huge. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Obviously, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Tons of content coming around the FA Cup games on the weekend, and obviously Man City Arsenal, which is coming up very, very soon. But all in all, it's a very, very big performance for Arsenal today. Huge in so many regards. Knockout football in the Champions League is not easy to come by. It's not easy to win. And Arsenal have beaten Porto in knockout football in the Champions League. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you very, very soon.